My name is Grace Johnson. I'm a 41-year-old housewife. Currently, I live with my husband Hudson and our daughter Aria, just the three of us. Hudson, who is a year older than me, was a senior in high school. I had a thing for older guys. And Hudson was quite the standout at school, always at the center of attention. He was tall, with a model-like face, and I remember he was probably the most popular guy in school. I fell for him at first sight as soon as I enrolled and pursued him relentlessly for 2 years until he graduated. At the graduation ceremony, I went to get a button from his jacket. Well, not just the second button, but almost all of them were gone. After Hudson graduated, it felt like there was a huge void in my heart. I couldn't bring myself to date any other guys. You know, like having a major crush on someone and then they're gone. After he left, I just drifted through my high school days without much purpose. But a turning point came when I started college. At a drinking party I was invited to by a friend. Hudson happened to be there by chance. You're Hudson, right? I'm Grace, your junior from high school. Do you remember me? When I approached him, he looked at me intently. With so many girls chasing after him in school, I didn't expect him to remember me, just one among many. But Hudson said, Grace, right? The band girl? I've seen you practicing late in the classroom. Just knowing he remembered me made me incredibly happy. After that, I bumped into him several times at college parties. Though we attended different universities, we had mutual friends, so Hudson was often there. He was still very popular, but I made every effort to stay close to him and finally got to go on a date with him when he landed a job. I finally got to go on a date with him alone when he landed a job. I invited him out to celebrate under the pretext of a job celebration, but he initially turned me down lightly. I'm only interested in fancy places. So, I booked a high-end restaurant and invited him again. Hudson's eyes widened when he heard the name of the restaurant. Well, I guess that was to be expected. It was not the kind of place a regular student could afford. Thanks to that, Hudson was in a good mood and accepted the dinner date. He seemed quite pleased with the luxurious meal in a private room at the high-end restaurant. I had researched in advance what he wanted and presented him with an expensive watch during the meal. When I gave him the watch, I confessed, "Hudson, I've liked you since high school. Would you go out with me?" Hudson was silent for a moment after my confession. Just when I thought it was over, he smiled broadly. "Sure. But I'm a bit high maintenance, so be prepared," he said, holding my hand. I was so happy I could have fainted. I liked his somewhat arrogant demeanor. Being a student, my perspective was generally youthful and naive. And I genuinely believed it was no problem at all that he was high maintenance. "Whatever you wish for, I'll make it happen," I told him, and I officially became his girlfriend. Hudson doesn't know, but the high-end restaurant we went to that day was actually owned by my grandmother. I'm truly grateful to my grandmother for arranging a private room where I could successfully confess my feelings. This is how my relationship with Hudson began. He had warned me about his self-centeredness even before we started dating, and sure enough, he lived up to expectations. He always puts his feelings first. But what surprised me more was how much kinder Hudson was than I had anticipated. He always carries heavy things for me and even opens the car door for me when we're driving. In restaurants, he pulls out the chair for me, and he does all this smoothly. I can't even count how much I've spent on Hudson during our 2 years of dating. I've given him almost everything he's ever wanted as a gift. And when Hudson said he wanted kids, I took it as his way of proposing. I had decided I would give Hudson whatever he wanted, and I was thrilled that he was thinking about marriage, so I immediately started preparing for marriage and pregnancy. That's how we were blessed with our first daughter, Aria, and our marriage became a reality. The joy of marrying Hudson, the man I had always admired, has not faded even now. Even if I come to resent him at times, I think it's still a beautiful memory. The first time I discovered Hudson's affair was when Aria was in elementary school. Learning that the other woman was the instructor at Aria's swimming class left me speechless. Apparently, Hudson had been given her contact information in secret when he took Arya to her class. I was disgusted by the instructor's actions, but I knew Hudson was that type of person from the moment I fell for him at first sight. Hudson's looks have the charm to captivate anyone instantly. Later, I found out that there were 2 or 3 other women he was seeing at the time. Like with the swimming instructor, it seems he was often suddenly given contact information or approached. Hudson can't resist beautiful women, so he probably took the bait as soon as he was approached. I found out about the swimming instructor when I saw the 2 of them in the car together. The very car I had given to Hudson for his most recent birthday. Naturally, I cried and confronted Hudson. I was filled with intense anger over Hudson's involvement with another woman and the fear that he might leave this home. Hudson admitted to the affair and begged for my forgiveness. "I'm really sorry. I want to protect the life I have with you and Arya. It was just a moment of madness. Please forgive me. The only person I love is you, Grace." How could I not forgive him after he said that? Yes, even after years of marriage, I'm still head over heels for my husband. Because I married the man I admired, I always end up forgiving him. If Hudson wants me to cheer up, I'll do it. Then he becomes kind again. I'm fully aware that I'm a hopelessly naive and foolish wife. But if it keeps our family together, then that's okay. Mom, did you forgive Dad again? That's why he keeps doing whatever he wants. You can't give in to his whims anymore, okay? That's how I got scolded by my daughter. Then, when Arya turned 13, another of Hudson's affairs came to light. This time, it was with a receptionist at his workplace. Apparently, the fiancé, who worked in the same company as a receptionist, caught Hudson at her place. That led to a significant confrontation. The affair reached Hudson's boss through her, and although Hudson had to pay compensation, his boss kept it under wraps, so the affair didn't spread throughout the company. But Hudson became dissatisfied with the penalty and stopped going to work. You know, I've been thinking about switching to a company with better conditions. It's good timing, and it's better for me and you, right, Grace? There was no apology for the incident with the receptionist, and his reasoning was completely illogical to me. But in the end, I forgave Hudson again. Arya was furious with me. She had just started middle school and was feeling distrustful of her father. In fact, it was Arya who told me about Hudson's dates with the receptionist. I saw them on my way back from tutoring. I'm glad I wasn't with any friends. Because of my leniency with Hudson, Arya ended up becoming quite responsible. She's been working hard in school and even has plans to study abroad at a university overseas after graduating high school. Thinking that it wouldn't do for her husband to remain unemployed forever, I introduced Hudson to the company he had talked about, which offered better conditions. It seems the terms were to his satisfaction because Hudson switched jobs immediately. 4 years have passed since then. Surprisingly, my husband has been working seriously. He took a job in sales, which seems to suit him well. However, the company he joined deals with pharmaceuticals and cosmetics, and since it offers many products for women, he became a salesperson in the cosmetics department. I was really worried about that. But even with more opportunities to interact with women, Hudson has been coming straight home for his family. As Arya started preparing for her overseas studies in her senior year of high school, our family finally seemed to settle down. It was soon after that Hudson had to go on a solo assignment. I really wanted to go with him, but he said, "Arya's high school life is important too, so I'm counting on you, Grace, while I'm away." I just can't say no to Hudson's requests. So, as Hudson said, I decided to stay by Arya's side and keep the home running. Though things between Hudson and Arya seem to be going well for now, Arya still seems to harbor a bit of resentment towards him. It's kinda weird how Dad suddenly became so tame. Well, I can understand how she feels. But these past few years, I haven't sensed any signs of other women from Hudson. Instead, he's been coming home every day and even goes out with the family on his days off. Arya might call me soft, but I want to believe in Hudson. That doesn't mean Hudson's whims have disappeared. He refused the apartment prepared by his company for his solo assignment. He didn't like the old and lived in properties. The company said it's fine to live wherever if he pays the rent himself, so Hudson chose a place he liked. The only fun I'll have on my assignment is watching TV, right? Oh, and make sure to get a brand new hairdryer too. I can't even count how much I've spent on Hudson. I was planning to use Hudson's earnings for Aria's study abroad funds, but it looks like I'll end up using my own money to set up Hudson's living arrangements and pay his rent for the assignment. Mom, you're too soft on Dad. If he just lived in the apartment the company provided, none of this would have happened. I got scolded by my daughter and felt a bit remorseful. So, Aria went with Hudson for his move. She said if I went, I'd just give in to Hudson's demands and end up buying unnecessary things. This is the first time living apart from Hudson, and I cried when seeing him off. Aria seemed a bit exasperated, but Hudson was kind. I'll come back on my days off, so have some delicious food ready for me, he said, patting my back. 2 days after Hudson's move and Aria's return, she told me. Everything went smoothly, so don't worry. I'm glad I left it to Aria. If it were me, I might not have been able to leave Hudson because I'd miss him too much. It's been 3 weeks since Hudson went on his assignment. He said he'd be too busy to come home right away. Tomorrow is a day off, and Hudson is coming home tonight for the first time in a while. I started preparing a feast just like Hudson wanted. Aren't you going overboard with this every time? Aria would say, but I don't mind going the extra mile for Hudson. By 7 p.m., I had a feast laid out on the table, waiting for Hudson's return. But Hudson never came. When I couldn't reach him by phone, I worried that something might have happened to him. Eventually, I told Aria to eat without me, and I waited until morning, but I only managed to get in touch with him the next day at noon. Sorry, there was a problem at work, and I couldn't make it back. I couldn't even contact you, and I'm really sorry for worrying you. I'm just relieved that you are safe. It seemed like Aria sensed something but didn't say anything to me. On the other end of the phone, Hudson said, I'll make it up to you next time. Hey, remember the restaurant we went to when we first started dating? Let's go there and talk about everything. I was truly happy that Hudson remembered that moment. I booked the day we confessed our feelings and told Hudson about it. Can you make the reservation under my name? I want to go in style since we're making the effort. Hudson requested, so I changed the reservation right away. I'll definitely come home this weekend. I want to see Aria too. My spirits lifted again. I started preparing immediately. Mom, you're expecting too much from Dad. I don't want to see you get hurt by him, Aria said coldly. It seemed like she had a feeling that Hudson might not come home this weekend either. That weekend, the feast laid out was not eaten by my husband. Aria comforted me gently as I cried on the sofa. After that, Hudson never returned home from his solo assignment. During this time, Aria, who was worried, made a suggestion. Mom, if you want to see Dad, why don't we go to him? Why didn't I think of that? I could have gone to see him any weekend. I nodded and began to prepare immediately. But Aria, with a serious face, said, Mom, there's one condition. I'm going with you. And no matter what, stay calm. Aria's face was so serious that I decided to listen to her wish. Hudson's place was quite far, taking several hours by train. We finally arrived at the apartment where Hudson lives. The room was a bit luxurious, and since I arranged it, I had the keys. Hudson would surely be surprised. Entering the room, the entrance was clean, and the shoes were neatly arranged. The living room was tidy too, not what you'd expect from a bachelor's living space. But something felt off. There were 2 sets of wallets, dishes, toothbrushes, almost as if someone was living there. My heart raced, and as I encountered various pieces of evidence, I couldn't deny that Hudson was living here with someone else. Then, I saw an envelope under the table and my heart pounded. A green envelope. It was a filled-out divorce form, complete with Hudson's signature and seal. I was speechless. My husband intended to divorce. Then, my daughter spoke from behind me. "Let's go home, Mom. It's useless to stay here." I hadn't even met Hudson yet, but what was there to talk about? With the filled-out divorce form, Hudson's intentions were clear. Tears naturally overflowed. I barely remember how we got home. Arya supported me as we took the train and a taxi from the station. By the time I realized, it was late at night, and I was sitting on the sofa. A blanket, likely placed by Arya, was on my shoulders, and there was a warm drink on the table. Arya was sitting next to me, fiddling with some device. "This is a webcam I installed when Dad moved. I told Dad it was so we could talk anytime, and he happily allowed it. Though he's probably forgotten by now. She likely took it with her when she left the room. Mom, I told you before we went, but please brace yourself. What I'm about to do might be hard for you, but I'm worried about you," Arya said, then played the footage from the camera connected to her smartphone. "It's okay, my wife will forgive me no matter what I do. Her family seems really wealthy, you know? They've always given me whatever I wanted whenever I asked for it." The screen showed Hudson and another woman talking. The woman he was talking to was young and beautiful. "I've managed to turn quite a bit of what I mooched off her into good money. So, I'm not really interested in her family's wealth. It's too much hassle to ask about it. My daughter's about to graduate from high school, so I'm thinking it's about time to get a divorce and free myself." I was in shock at Hudson's unbelievable words. Every time, Arya had to remind me to stay strong by saying, "Mom, hold on." After saying, "I'm sorry, Mom," Arya carried me to the bedroom. I couldn't tell if I had slept or not until morning came. When I went to the living room, Arya was already there. Seeing me, she rushed over with a worried look. She seemed to want to say something, but when I showed her a smile, her expression changed to one of relief. "Arya, I'm sorry for worrying you. I'll submit that divorce form as he wishes." Arya nodded, and we hugged each other tightly. The old me might have been consumed by jealousy and cried my eyes out. But now, strangely, I felt nothing towards Hudson. The day after we visited Hudson's house, Arya and I quickly went to the city hall and submitted the divorce form. Since then, we've been busy with Arya's high school graduation and preparations for her study abroad. There's been no contact from Hudson. He must be enjoying his life with his mistress, thinking we won't reach out. I thought he might come back on his own for Arya's graduation, but left him be when she said, "He's a stranger now." Today is the day Arya leaves for her study abroad. I was talking to a friend who came to see us off at the airport. During that time, I was checking my smartphone to see if there was anything I had left undone. I've cancelled the old mobile phone, and the sale of the house is complete. Hudson's things have been sent to him, so that's settled. Oh, and I need to cancel the lease on that apartment by the end of next month. As I was muttering to myself, Arya, having said goodbye to her friend, came over. "Mom, it's almost time." I nodded and followed her, pulling my carry-on. Today, Arya is setting off for her study abroad. And I've decided to move abroad as well. There's no need for me to wait for Hudson at home anymore. Arya and I are starting a new life together. I've cancelled the old mobile phone and sold the house we lived in. Arya and I will disappear from Hudson's life without leaving anything behind. That was his last wish. Today was supposed to be the reservation at that restaurant. He hasn't contacted me. Probably, he wanted the reservation under his name to impress some woman. I'll ask Grandma about how he's doing tomorrow. It adds to the excitement of starting a new life. It's been a week since Arya and I moved abroad. We've finished moving in the packages, and our life is starting to settle. The day after we arrived, I called Grandma according to her time zone. She knew about my divorce from Hudson. And she told me about the restaurant. That day, he brought a woman to Grandma's restaurant. Just like 18 years ago, booking a private room in the high-end restaurant. Of course, there's a charge for using a private room at this place. When it came time to pay, Hudson's eyes widened at the amount. When I went with him, there was a discount because of my face pass, but this time it had nothing to do with me. There was no discount, so he must have paid the regular price. However, Hudson would never do something embarrassing. I assumed he presented his card as if nothing was wrong. Though my grandma mentioned his hand was shaking a bit at that moment. I suspect Hudson must have called me afterwards. Probably asking for money. But my number has been cancelled. Hudson must have felt something was off, but he doesn't know my current contact information. Of course, Aria's number has been changed too. I wonder how he's doing. And now, a month has passed since we arrived overseas. Hudson must be in trouble by now. The apartment he's living in is under my name and is due to be cancelled at the end of this month. He should have received a prior notice, but I wonder if he's realized it. It'd be fine if his roommate is someone he can trust. While thinking about this, Aria spoke to me. A friend from back home contacted me. Someone was making a scene at the place where our house used to be. Aria thought it was Dad. Dad seems to be in quite a panic. Just imagining Hudson in a panic is funny. His handsome image is ruined. Mom, what do we do? Go back home for a while? I had thought we'd need to talk to Hudson eventually. But I don't want to meet him. We're not going back. But I will talk to Dad. Aria tilted her head, but I had a plan. This is really the end. Let's face him properly and say goodbye. Aria and I took a nap to adjust to the time difference, preparing for the face-to-face with Hudson. We're no longer a couple, but let's settle this once and for all. Hudson must be sufficiently damaged by now, but that's not enough for me. I've decided not to forgive Hudson. Aria and I sat on the sofa, staring at the webcam above the TV. Soon, my smartphone received a call. They were ready. When I turned on the TV, Hudson appeared on the screen. With a few adults watching the situation in the background. Wah. Grace? Aria too. Where are you guys? Hudson's voice was slightly delayed from his mouth movements. Hudson, long time no see. You look well. Where are we? That's something I can't tell you. Where are you? Hudson, looking confused, answered. Well, I was called by my boss to the president's office at the company this morning. He seemed uncomfortable under the watchful eyes. Hudson didn't seem to grasp the situation. I asked them to accompany you today because I have a lot to tell you. I said, and Hudson looked even more bewildered. First, the divorce form you filled out has been successfully submitted. You probably know since you received the acceptance notice. You were so kind to sign it yourself. No complaints, right? Hudson appeared confused by my words. He definitely had the intention to divorce. However, Hudson countered with something else. But, selling the house is foul play. That was my house too. You shouldn't have sold it without my permission. If you sold it, you should share the money with me. The conversation was veering off track, but since I was planning to discuss this eventually, I decided to explain it right away. You might be misunderstanding something, but that house wasn't ours. It was in my parents' names. So, if my parents decided to sell the house, we had to comply. Hudson looked as if he couldn't believe it. But it's true. Our house was quite a mansion. There was no way Hudson could afford such a house with his income. It was a house my parents had given me as a wedding gift. It happened nearly 20 years ago, so he must have forgotten. I sent you your belongings, didn't I? The watch I gave you, the suits, the accessories. I bought them because you wanted them, but you treated them like trash in your room. Maybe you've already turned them into cash. It probably hit the mark. Hudson clenched his teeth for a moment. It's embarrassing to admit, but why did I spoil this man so much? I loved him that much. The fact is true, but suddenly, I felt a surge of regret. I loved you so much that I was willing to fulfill any request. Even when you cheated, I forgave you, thinking you would eventually come back to me. But if you wanted a divorce, then it's over. I wiped the tears I had been holding back. Really, as Arya said, maybe I was too lenient on him, too forgiving. This divorce could well be said to be my own doing. Seeing me like this, Arya spoke up. Dad, Mom has been waiting for you all this time. No matter what I said, Mom believed in you. You betrayed her, Dad. I won't forgive you. Arya played the recorded voice of Hudson that she had captured. Where did you get this recording from? Hudson was clearly shaken. Arya also showed a picture of Hudson with another woman on the screen. Dad, unlike Mom, I've always doubted you. Sorry. I really wanted to prove your innocence and looked into things, but the more I dug, the more evidence of your affairs I found. You've been pretending not to cheat these past few years, but you've really been playing around quite a bit. Arya presented facts I didn't know. Apparently, Hudson had also committed adultery within his company. Arya had contacted my parents in advance and investigated Hudson's infidelity. No wonder you were coming home properly. Adultery during work hours is ridiculous. After Arya's remark, Hudson showed a slightly sad face. I don't know who you're living with now, but it can be found out. Since Mom can't say it, I will. Dad, we're going to sue you for compensation. Hearing about compensation, Hudson stood up from his chair. He started getting angry, his face turning red. What compensation? There's no way I have that kind of money. Yeah, even the restaurant the other day charged me a crazy amount. I couldn't help but smirk when he brought up the restaurant. Arya immediately retorted. That restaurant was a place of memories for you and Mom. I can't believe you'd take another woman there. It's terrible how you deceived Mom. Do you know how much she was looking forward to it? Dad, you're the worst of all. The lack of money is your own fault. We'll make sure you pay. The staring contest between Hudson and Arya through the screen continued. That's when I took over from Arya. So, Hudson, you'll be hearing from a lawyer. We're prepared for this to go to court. And, as you probably know, the house you're living in now will also be cancelled soon. Make sure you prepare to move. Hudson stood, staring at the screen. Having been adored by everyone around him until now, his anger at being belittled like this was immeasurable. But he could use a taste of defeat. Come on, not forgiving the cheating now, that's dirty. Sneaking around collecting evidence of someone's cheating is creepy and underhanded. And suing for compensation, canceling the current house, how monstrous can you get? You have the worst personality. I wish I could see your parents' faces. Hudson yelled so loud it seemed the speaker might break. You want to see my parents' faces? Well, let's make that final wish come true. My parents have been behind you this whole time. Hudson froze at my words. He looked back at me with a puzzled expression. And then, he slowly turned around. There stood the president and executive director of Hudson's company. The president is my father, and the executive director is my mother. Because you said you didn't want a wedding or a meet and greet because it was too much trouble, you've never seen my parents' faces. Despite your selfishness, my parents respected the man I chose, and have always watched over us generously. Any complaints? Hudson was shaking a bit. He was probably reflecting on his behavior here. When you said you wanted to change jobs, my parents helped you. That's why you're working at this company. Then, my father, who had been silent until now, spoke up as the president, not just as Grace's father. From here on, I have something to say not as Grace's father but as the president. Hudson, it's come to my attention that not only have you been committing adultery during work hours, but you also have had romantic relationships with women from our business contacts. And it's not just one or two women. We've received numerous complaints. Hudson's face went pale. My mother, the executive director, spoke to Arya and me through the screen. From here, it will be about company matters, so you two should rest. If anything happens, we'll contact you. Thank you. Arya and I thanked my mother. And finally, I also had words for Hudson. Hudson, leave Arya to me. By then, goodbye. Then Hudson approached the screen, crying and shouting. I'm sorry. It was my fault. The most important thing to me is you two. Forgive me. Let's live together again. The video cut off midway. Probably, my mother ended the call. This ordeal has caused a lot of worry for my parents. I plan to send them a thank you message later. Arya and I hugged each other, both crying. It's over. This is truly goodbye to Hudson. A few days later, Arya's life at school overseas begins today. After the entrance ceremony, Arya and I had a meal together. And we talked a little about Hudson. In addition to betraying me, Hudson had issues with his work attitude at the company and seemed to have angered my parents considerably. Moreover, it was revealed that he had been having affairs with various people related to his work, naturally leading to his inability to stay at my parents' company. Apparently, his way of doing business also caused some losses, and the company is considering suing him for damages. The woman Hudson had been living with, who knew he was married and was a co-worker from the same company, has agreed to the compensation claim and paid in full. Whether their relationship continues is unknown. Having lost everything, Hudson reportedly started a night job through an acquaintance. The compensation from Hudson is being deposited in small amounts each month. Mom, from now on, I'll protect you. Oh, that's reassuring. But I became stronger too. It's still my turn to protect you. We laughed together, saying that no matter what happens, I don't want to ruin this happy relationship with my daughter. With that thought, I watch my daughter forge ahead towards her dreams. Life overseas has its uncertainties, but as a mother, I'll live strong and enjoy the time with my daughter. Hey, why are you hanging out over there? You should show a little concern. Wipe off my sweat too. You're my wife, after all. I no longer feel obligated to worry about you. You've lost the right to expect marital duties from me since you cheated. I coldly stated this and showed Harrison and my sister the photo I had. As soon as I revealed this truth in the hospital room, my sister was greatly shaken. At that moment, I faced an unbelievable sight. My name is Sally, a 28-year-old office worker. After graduating from college, I joined a logistics company and have been working hard ever since. Life as a working adult was harder than I imagined, both physically and mentally, but I was happy to work as a permanent employee and receive a salary. Busy yet fulfilling, I started to get accustomed to my job around the time I met Harrison through a friend's introduction. Harrison worked for a major corporation, the epitome of an elite, with a fast mind and extensive knowledge, trusted by juniors and superiors alike. He was approachable and humble, a person of good character. When I confided in him about my work troubles, he listened intently and gave me precise advice. So, when the irresistibly charming Harrison proposed dating with marriage in mind, I was so surprised that I raised my voice. After all, Harrison seemed like a person from another world to me. 3 years have passed since we got married, and I am still continuing my job smoothly. We don't have children yet, but Harrison and I live happily as a couple. On weekends, we relax by watching movies and sometimes go on drives to sightsee. My parents' house is about an hour's drive from where we live in the city center, and my parents were very close, enjoying traveling together as their hobby. My father passed away from illness a few years ago, but since then, I've been worried about my mother, who is now alone, and frequently visit my parents' house. Since the drive doubles as a visit and my husband also says he feels comfortable at my parents' house, it naturally becomes a place we often go to. Incidentally, the timing was a bit awkward, but right after my dad passed away, my sister got divorced and moved back to our parents' house. So, I feel relieved knowing there's someone there in case something happens. My relationship with my husband and my parents' home is good, and from the outside, we look like a couple without any issues. But there's one thing that's been bothering me lately. It's that Harrison's been coming home after midnight more frequently. When I ask him why, he brushes me off, saying, "It's the busiest time right now." "You work too, Sally, so you should understand how tough it is." I do understand the busyness of peak times. However, he has never come home this late since we got married. So, I'm really worried he might be pushing himself too hard. Mom says the same, but you're worrying too much, Harrison said, not even trying to hide his wry smile. Seeing his attitude, I felt it was useless to say anything more and stopped the conversation. "All right, take care. I've prepared a bath for you, so go soak and relax." To that, Harrison just replied, "Thanks," and headed to the bathroom. When did he start keeping such a distance? There was a time, no matter how busy, he wouldn't show this kind of attitude. Do people change over time? Or is this what they call the doldrums in a relationship? Despite the lingering unease in my heart, I decided to just go to bed and was about to head to the bedroom when something brightly colored caught my eye from Harrison's bag on the sofa. Curiosity got the better of me, despite thinking I shouldn't snoop through his things, and I picked it up. The emotions I had tried to suppress came flooding back. It was a red watch. And it was the one I had given to my sister. It was a watch from her favorite brand that I had custom-made for her birthday last year. She seemed to really love it. Worry races through my mind, but there's no point in dwelling on it. I have to get up early tomorrow, but at this rate, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. After a while, Harrison came out of the bath and entered the bedroom. "Hey, Harrison, I hate to bring this up before bed, but there's something I need to ask," I started. Harrison looked a bit troubled and said, "What's up?" but I continued without hesitation. "Why do you have this?" I said that, showing him the red watch. Harrison's face changed. "Oh, this. I borrowed it because I wanted to check the time, but I accidentally took it home with me. I was planning to return it the next time we met but forgot," Harrison explained. "I see. That puts my mind at ease. That's all I wanted to ask. Good night," I replied. Harrison didn't say anything and got into bed. But even after that, the unease in my heart didn't clear, and I ended up hardly sleeping until morning. Ever since that incident, I've had many anxious nights and finally ended up getting sick. I could tell I had a fever without even using a thermometer when I woke up. My body felt like lead, and my head throbbed continuously. It seems I've caught a cold, probably from pushing my sleep-deprived body too hard with work and household chores. When I called in sick to work, they told me to make sure to go to the doctor, but I was in no condition to drive, and I didn't have the energy or willpower to walk to the clinic. Harrison had already left the house, so getting a ride from him wasn't an option either. I had no choice but to spend the day resting in bed. If it were the old Harrison, he surely would have taken care of me, and just thinking about that made me sad. So, I tried to shake off those feelings and closed my eyes. When I woke up, the sunlight streaming in through the window was illuminating the houseplants in the room. It seems I had slept soundly. Thankfully, the terrible headache had eased, and I felt much clearer. However, I still wasn't well enough to walk around outside energetically. I reluctantly decided to ask Harrison to pick up some medicine and ingredients for dinner on his way home, and I grabbed my smartphone. Feeling sorry for bothering Harrison when he was likely busy, but thinking it's okay to lean on him a bit when I'm feeling sick, I immediately made the call. "Hello, Harrison? It's me." "What's up, Sally?" "I'm still at work." "What do you need?" I wanted to say there's no way to talk to your wife like that, but I didn't have the energy to start an argument. "I'm really sorry to bother you while you're busy. I've had a fever since this morning and called off work. The fever hasn't gone down, and I can't go out to shop. Could you pick something up on your way home?" Then, my husband sighed. "Oh, you're just being too soft on yourself." "Excuse me? I think taking care of yourself is part of your job as professional. Aren't you self-aware enough? I'm too busy at work today to go home, so you'll have to handle the shopping yourself. I don't even have the energy to go shopping. Relying too much on others will make you soft. Anyway, my boss is calling me. I gotta go," Harrison said, and then hung up. Stunned, I listened to the beep of the call ending and remained motionless for a while, phone still to my ear. Why would he talk like that to someone who's sick? No matter how busy with work, does he want to avoid talking to me that much? In the early days of our marriage, Harrison was the one who worried about me the most when I was sick, taking care of me diligently. He would go to the drugstore to buy pudding or energy drinks for me, and even called my mom to ask what's best to eat when you have a fever. What made the kind-hearted Harrison become so cold? Feeling a fever rise again, I drank some chilled mineral water from the fridge and went back to bed without thinking further. Harrison didn't return home until the deep hours of the next night. My health had already improved significantly, and I was able to go to work that morning. I wanted to go to bed early because I was still recovering, but I had something I needed to tell Harrison, so I waited for him to come home. The show I wanted to watch had already ended, and I was watching an infomercial with no particular interest when I heard the door open. I hurried to the entrance. "Welcome back, that must have been tough." "Yeah. Food and bath are ready, what will you do?" "No need for either, I'm beat." Unlike you, I don't have the luxury to rest. After witnessing Harrison's cold attitude over the phone yesterday, I didn't expect him to worry over a slight illness. However, as soon as he came home, I told him there was something I needed to say. "What?" "I'm already sleepy, make it quick." Actually, when I went to work today, my boss asked me to go on a business trip next week. I thought about the house, but since it's only for 2 or 3 days, I decided to accept. "So, I'm going to need you to take care of things at home while I'm away next week." I usually handle all the household chores, so I was a little worried about how Harrison would manage. He might even strongly object. But his response was unexpected. "A business trip, huh? When are you leaving?" Next Tuesday." "I'm not sure when I'll be back yet. I'm planning to discuss the details with my boss tomorrow. I'll let you know once it's decided." "Got it." "Oh, make sure to contact me as soon as you get back." Saying that, Harrison headed to the bathroom, seemingly a bit happy for some reason. "What? Hey, weren't you going to sleep?" "Changed my mind. Since you prepared it, I'm going to take a bath and freshen up before going to bed." I was a bit surprised at how Harrison's attitude brightened after hearing about the business trip. If it were the old me, I might have been pleased by the change, but now it just raises more doubts. However, with the trip starting soon, I told myself it was pointless to get worked up over speculation. Yet, Harrison's brief look of happiness stirred my unease. Why did he seem so pleased? As the trip approached, Harrison kept saying things he normally wouldn't, like leave the house to me and focus on your work during the trip. On the day of the trip, despite being busy, Harrison gave me a ride to the airport, saying, "Take care. See you on Thursday," and waved goodbye with a smile. Sitting in my seat on the plane, I reflected on Harrison's recent behavior. His cheerful demeanor, the reason for his late returns, and the red watch found in his bag came to mind. As I pondered what these could mean, I was filled with anxiety. But without any solid evidence, I told myself the business trip was still ahead and focused on heading to my destination. Then, I opened my smartphone's contact list to call home. "Hello? Hey, it's Sally." "Mom? Oh, it's rare for you to call. What's up? Aren't you supposed to be at work?" "No, actually, I'm on a business trip. I had some time, so I thought I'd call. I haven't been in touch since I last visited home. Are you okay? No cold or anything?" A business trip sounds almost like a little vacation. "What are you talking about?" "It's work, all work. Your love for travel really hasn't changed, has it?" I then asked, "Hey, how's Kate doing lately? Anything new with her?" "Oh, Kate's doing well as always. She's going to work and all." "Oh, but actually, she took the day off today. The house has been buzzing since this morning, and it got me up earlier than usual." "She took a day off? Does she have some special plans or something?" My heart started to feel uneasy. Yeah, actually, she's been preparing to go out since this morning. She's about to leave, right? I get the feeling she's dressed up more than usual. Maybe she's got a new boyfriend? I speculated. My anxiety grew, and my heartbeat quickened just when I was trying to confirm my worries. While I was lost for words, my mom kept talking. She finally found someone new, huh? I'm happy for her. Slowly, I moved the phone away from my ear, feeling my mom's voice fade as I eventually ended the call. Leaning against the door, I stared intently at my smartphone's screen. After a while, I opened the call screen again and pressed the dial button. That night, after finishing work and returning to the hotel, I lay in bed feeling as if a weight was crushing me with fatigue. Of course, during work, I focused on the meetings with clients, not letting thoughts of those two distract me. At this point, there's no concrete evidence of an affair. So, there's no use in dwelling on it. Yet, my brain was working overtime, trying to fit any potential evidence to the case. Wondering when and if Harrison and Kate have been together lately, or maybe Kate was just dressing up for herself. And maybe Harrison was just really busy with work. But then, why did he seem so elated that time? Why didn't he show any concern when I caught a cold? I thought about calling my mom again, but asking the same questions several times a day would raise suspicion, and even if the two were meeting, it's not likely my sister would tell the truth to our mom. Oh, this is pointless, let's just focus on work for now, I decided to switch gears. Then, on Thursday night, after successfully completing the 3-day business trip, I was relaxing on the sofa at home. Unusually, Harrison had already come home, and we spent some quiet time together for the first time in a while. Everything was okay at home while I was away? Yeah, no problems at all. And the 3 days went by quicker than I thought. Really? It felt quite long to me. But I'm relieved the house isn't as messy as I imagined. Did you eat out? Yeah, mostly fast food. I managed to do the laundry even without Sally here. That's good. Oh, I bought some sweets, let's have them together. Sounds good, he replied, and I quickly prepared some tea and snacks. It was rare for us to enjoy a peaceful conversation together. This might be the perfect opportunity to clear up those suspicions. By the way, what were you up to while I was on the business trip? Oh. Work, obviously. You're not thinking I was meeting some other woman, are you? Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I was just wondering what you were up to since it's the first time you've been alone since we got married. We always go back to our parents' house together, after all. I casually brought up the topic of going home, but Harrison's reaction didn't change. Speaking of going home, it reminded me of something. I talked to Mom for the first time in a while on the way back. I was surprised to hear that Kate might have a boyfriend. She hasn't been with anyone since her divorce. Kate has a boyfriend? But that's good for her, starting anew, right? That's great. Yeah, it is. Harrison was completely unfazed and casually ate the cake I had brought back as souvenirs. Seeing how calm he was, I didn't feel like pursuing the topic any further, and it ended there. A few days later, it was decided that Harrison would be going on a business trip to another region. Unlike my trip, this one seemed to be a long-term assignment. If successful, it could significantly boost his standing within the company, even possibly leading to an unprecedented promotion. Harrison was quite enthusiastic. Because of that, he has been coming home late almost every night, busy with preparations for the trip. Watching his buoyant demeanor, I had a hunch. It was eerily similar to his reaction when I told him about my own business trip. The night before his departure, Harrison had to run out to the convenience store after realizing he forgot to buy something. I took this as the perfect opportunity to check his suitcase, heading to the bedroom. Luckily, the suitcase was left open and easily accessible. Looking for evidence, I peered inside the suitcase, and its contents were suspicious at first glance. Is this really preparation for a business trip? A travel guidebook was hidden intentionally, and on top of it were notes with reservations times for popular restaurants and new, stylish clothes that didn't seem work-related. It looked like plans for a trip with someone. The next moment, I was shocked. Could it really be? The next day, Harrison left the house early in the morning. He wasn't wearing the stylish clothes I saw the day before, but his usual suit. After confirming the door was closed, I immediately tried to contact my parents' home. But no matter how long I waited, there was no answer. Anxiously, I headed to my workplace. Then, an unexpected development awaited me. In the morning, I was at a loss for words when I received a sudden call from the hospital. "Hello, this is Westside Hospital. May I speak to Mrs. Harrison Smith?" "Yes, that's me." "What happened?" "We will explain the details when you arrive. Your husband has been injured and we ask that you come as soon as possible." I learned that Harrison had slipped and fractured his leg while at a spa resort and was urgently transported to a nearby hospital. Thankfully, his life was not in danger. I immediately informed my boss of the situation and rushed to the hospital. On the way, I also contacted Harrison's company. Normally, if he was on a business trip, the company would have been informed of his whereabouts. "I'm really sorry to trouble you, but this is Harrison Smith's wife, Sally Smith. I heard my husband was hospitalized during his business trip." When I said this, I was met with a surprising statement from my husband's boss who answered the phone. "What do you mean Harrison has been hospitalized during his business trip? We only have a report that he took a long vacation, and I heard he was traveling with his wife." That was the response I got. This confused me, but I quickly understood the situation and it became clear that Harrison had lied about going on a business trip and had actually gone on a vacation. Moreover, he had told his company that he was traveling with me and had taken leave for it. Hearing this, my anger towards Harrison surged, but at the same time, the fact that he was suffering from a fracture complicated my feelings as I rushed to the hospital. The hospital was located about 2 hours from the city center in a resort area. Upon arrival, I completed the check-in process and headed to Harrison's hospital room. As expected, my sister Kate was there, taking care of Harrison. He himself had fractured his right leg and was in a pitiful state with a large bandage wrapped around it. He mumbled pitifully, "I'm so sorry it had to come to this." But in my mind, anger won out over sympathy for him. "Hey, why are you just hanging around there? Show a little concern, will you? Wipe off my sweat too. You're my wife, after all. I no longer feel any obligation to worry about you. No matter how tough it gets for you." "What do you mean?" "I was just busy with work. And I got injured because I was too tired." My husband tried to excuse himself, but his words no longer held any weight for me. "Just keep piling up the lies. Pretending to work when you were just out having fun." "What did you say?" Harrison said, his face turning red, and he tried to move. But in the next moment, he lost his balance and fell from the bed. Then he screamed in pain. When the nurse rushed in to ask about the situation, I just coldly looked down at my betrayed husband. "You just fell on your own. You've lost the right to expect any marital duties from me since you cheated." I coldly stated this and showed Harrison and Kate the photo I had been holding. Yes, on the day I told Harrison I was going on a business trip, I felt something off about Harrison's satisfied behavior and Kate's actions, so I hired a detective to monitor the two of them together over 3 days. As a result, I was able to obtain evidence of their infidelity. The photos provided clearly captured the moments of Harrison meeting up with Kate at a hotel. As soon as I revealed this truth in the hospital room, Kate was greatly shaken. She desperately denied it, saying, "No, it's not me, the real person isn't me," while opening the curtain to the next bed. At that moment, I faced an unbelievable sight. Behind the curtain was my mother. And she was more severely injured than Harrison. Faced with this situation, my mind was in turmoil. "Wait, why is Mom here?" Then Kate began to speak calmly. "Listen to the truth. Harrison's affair wasn't with me. It was actually with Mom." This shocking revelation left me frozen. It was true that my mother and Harrison had been traveling together, and an accident in a mixed-gender bath led them both to be rushed to the hospital. Kate continued to explain how much our mother had been struggling since our father's death, how envious she had been of my relationship with my husband, and that she had been in contact with Harrison behind my back. I don't want to hear any excuses anymore. To my mother, who apologized with a sorry, that's all I could say. This whole situation is beyond abnormal. And you knew everything from the start, I said, feeling disappointed in Kate. The reality that my mother and my sister's husband were involved was hard to accept. Why did you keep silent about it? To my question, Kate sighed. Ever since Harrison and Mom started their affair, I've been desperately trying to fix things without you knowing. Then, Mom asked me to pretend to be the affair partner in case things got exposed. I couldn't say no. Hearing this made me angry. Did you even consider me for a moment during all this? Kate answered quietly. It was a tough time for me too. I wanted to do something about Mom's loneliness. And I felt she became happier since Harrison started coming around. I was speechless. My own family was this selfish and morally corrupt. And there's this evidence too, Kate said as she pulled out an IC recorder. She had recorded conversations between Harrison and my mother, just in case, to prove her own innocence. When she pressed play, Harrison and my mother's voices were clearly recorded. Their conversation, and their laughter talking about me, was audible. At that moment, Harrison suddenly exclaimed, "No! That woman came on to me. I tried to reject her, but she kept coming after me every time." I stared at Harrison calmly. Do you really think that? Then why are you talking so happily here? And to Harrison's words, my mother retorted indignantly. You're the one who said you were drawn to the allure of an older woman and approached me. Stop lying. Just because you're a bit younger doesn't mean you can be so delusional. Both parties were blaming each other, but who seduced whom first is no longer important. I don't want to be involved in this anymore. I still have work to clean up. Sally, you have your sister, after all. Kate said, trying to leave, but I stopped her. Wait, you're not innocent in this. You're a perpetrator too. What? How can you say that? Sure, my mother and Harrison's betrayal is unforgivable. But Kate, knowing the truth and cooperating with the deception, is just as responsible. I plan to demand compensation from all of them and never let them forget the pain of betrayal. A few days later, I hired a lawyer to proceed with the divorce from Harrison. I was also successful in obtaining a significant settlement from him and my mother. It was later revealed that the reason for Kate's divorce was her own infidelity. So, it makes sense why she could act this way. And Kate is still trying to reconcile with her ex-husband, but has been firmly rejected. As for Harrison, after being discharged, he returned to work, but the atmosphere was quite uncomfortable for him. His bad reputation spread throughout the company, and he was eventually transferred to a regional branch, where he is isolated. Meanwhile, my mother has been forced into a wheelchair life due to the accident and is spending her days in bitterness being cared for by Harrison. This self-inflicted situation couldn't be more fitting for them. I've completely cut ties with them and decided never to associate with them again. For now, I plan to enjoy my single life and focus on my work instead of love. My boss invited me to play golf, so I'm off. My husband said, just before our son's middle school entrance ceremony was about to start. My husband, who has never done household chores or parenting, has never properly attended our son's school events. However, seeing many families attend the elementary school graduation ceremony together, I asked my husband to join me for the middle school entrance ceremony. Usually, he would brush off everything with "I have work," but this time, he took a day off for the ceremony. I was surprised that he actually took the day off. I thought it was a good idea to ask him, as both our son and my mother-in-law were happy to hear he would be attending. Yet, as the time for the ceremony drew near, I couldn't find my husband anywhere. When I called him, I couldn't believe what he said. Despite having taken a day off for our son's entrance ceremony, he had just decided to go play golf with his boss. I was stunned by his actions and couldn't understand what he was thinking. But I knew I had to be there to witness our son's proud moment. Entering middle school is a testament to our son's brilliant growth. It was when I was watching our son. A certain person visited the golf course where my husband was. As a result, my husband ended up pale and trembling.
Why are you here?
My name is Chloe. I'm a 40-year-old office worker. While living with my husband and son, I've started a management position this year and have been busy both professionally and personally. My husband is Joseph, who is 2 years older than me. Our son Lucas is soon to graduate from elementary school. We're a full-time working family, and I returned to work about 6 months after giving birth to Lucas. The main reason was that we were lucky to get him into daycare at the start of the fiscal year. I loved my job and missed it even when I was on maternity leave. I was planning to return to work without taking full parental leave when we got the notification from the daycare. I remember looking forward to getting back to work. However, looking back on that time, when I was juggling work and family while sending my son to daycare, it was hectic. I was always running against time and frequently called by the daycare. There were many times I thought I couldn't handle it anymore. My mother-in-law was always there to help. She lived a few minutes' walk from our house and would pick up Lucas from daycare. I couldn't take him to the hospital when he was sick. My father-in-law had passed away from illness before Lucas turned 1. So, my mother-in-law lived alone and always told me, "You can rely on me anytime," and she truly was a big help. I relied on her a lot, but because we raised my son together, my mother-in-law and I have built a very good relationship. My folks live a plane ride away, and since my brother and his wife live with them, we're not really in a give-and-take relationship. That's why my mother-in-law's presence is such a blessing, and she's a real pillar of support for me. On the other hand, my husband, who should be my partner in all this. It's unbelievable that he's the son of such a kind mother, considering he does neither housework nor parenting. When our son was just a baby who could only cry, if I was holding and soothing him, my husband would mutter so noisy and click his tongue, moving to another room. He gets grumpy when my mother-in-law and I are taking care of our son, and he won't even change diapers, saying I can't deal with the mess. Even when it's his turn to feed the baby, he'd say, "Are you done?" I'm tired, and quit halfway through. Even if I'm swamped with taking care of our son and work, to the point where I can't even wash dishes, hang laundry, or tidy up toys, my husband just adds to the mess, piling up dirty dishes, increasing the laundry, and kicking toys around as he walks. I've tried to talk to him about his behavior. I even changed my approach and asked for help in a more pleading way. But he just gets annoyed and ignores me. There was never any improvement. If anything, he'd just click his tongue and lash out at things even more. So, I stopped trying to get him to change and decided not to expect anything from him. Even if I spend a lot of time and effort trying to communicate what I want from him in terms of parenting and housework, if there's no result, it only leaves me exhausted. In a life with no time or energy to spare, I didn't want to add more stress. If I don't consider him as part of the equation from the start, I won't be bothered when he does nothing. I think now, that was a way to protect my own mental state, which was on the brink from being so busy and sleep-deprived. Seeing how my husband was, even my mother-in-law thought it wasn't good and gently scolded him. Very gently. "Joseph, Chloe is tired, too. Why don't you take a turn holding Lucas? He's so cute, after all. I'm more tired from work. That's her job." But my husband didn't listen to his mother's words, dismissing them and retreating to the bedroom. He has this way of looking down on women, saying things like, "Because you're a woman or for a woman, you sure." He'd often make such remarks about female bosses or colleagues at work, which I thought might stem from an inferiority complex, but come to think of it, he said similar things about looking down on his mother. Since she's been a homemaker her whole life, only capable of housework and childcare, might as well let her do it. That was his response when I mentioned feeling guilty for always relying on my mother-in-law and wanting to get her something nice for Mother's Day. He said that and immediately looked down at his smartphone. I always felt that my mother-in-law's meticulous and thoughtful approach to housework and childcare was incredible. Feeling all the more so because I knew I wasn't cut out for it and couldn't manage it myself. My mother-in-law was always calm, kind, and smiling at my son. Her housework was always done efficiently and quickly. It wasn't just her years of experience, I thought her planning skills were exceptional. Her ability to anticipate the future and manage everything while preparing for unforeseen circumstances was admirable. And yet, without recognizing my mother-in-law's greatness, my husband looked down on her. "Chloe, I'm sorry." And my mother-in-law would apologize for her son Joseph's behavior. I don't think she should be the one to apologize, but she always tries to cover for and protect him. My husband is the only son his parents had wanted and had after much longing, and it seems he was quite spoiled. According to him, he was often scolded by his father, but his mother never scolded him. But from what I've seen, his father only pointed out the most basic common sense things, and it was far from what I'd call scolding. Yet, my husband would sulk or get down, so he probably thought he was being scolded. I didn't get to spend much time with my father-in-law, so I can't confidently say I fully understood what kind of person he was. But he wasn't a hot-tempered man. Rather, like my mother-in-law, he seemed to care deeply for his son, my husband, and was very devoted. It's probably more accurate to say that he felt stricter compared to my mother-in-law, but for my husband, being scolded by his father might have been a turning point for changing his behavior. That's why my husband now does whatever he pleases. His father has passed away, and he looks down on his mother. He has no interest in listening to me. I've given up on trying to communicate anything to my husband. I often hear that husbands need to be raised, but I just don't have the capacity to take care of him. Both my mother-in-law and I have stopped trying to correct him or ask for anything, and we're the ones raising our son. As a result, my husband freely goes out drinking and sometimes doesn't come home. He works in a department with almost no overtime, so he could technically leave on time every day. However, he's never even considered coming home early to take care of our son or do any household chores. In fact, I earn more than he does, and the money he contributes to our household is only about 2/3 of what I bring in. Despite this, he freely spends and doesn't come home, showing a complete lack of awareness. To be honest, I hate even thinking that such a man is Lucas's father. Getting divorced wouldn't particularly trouble me, and if it meant less stress, it might not be such a bad idea. However, I hesitated to take the step of divorce because I wondered if Lucas might not want his father erased from his home life. On a sunny and warm day in March, Lucas's elementary school graduation ceremony took place. Since the ceremony was on a weekday, my husband excused himself with a simple impossible and didn't attend, but I took a day off and went with my mother-in-law. It's amazing to think that the boy who was once so small at birth is now about as tall as me. Remembering his growth over the years, my mother-in-law and I were moved to tears. After the ceremony, the children came out to the schoolyard. It was their free time now, and they seemed to be taking the opportunity to take photos with friends and say their goodbyes. Not all of them would be going to the same middle school, so they were probably making the most of their last moments together in elementary school. "Mom, can you take my backpack home for me?" Lucas came over to me and my mother-in-law and asked. "Of course. Here, take your phone too." "Thanks." The school had informed us that during this time in the schoolyard, it was okay to use cameras, phones, or tablets for taking pictures. Parents were advised to bring these devices and hand them over in the schoolyard, with reminders to adhere to internet literacy and such. The kids were probably using this time to take commemorative photos and exchange contact information. "Mom and Grandma can head home first." "All right. Be careful on your way back." "Don't worry, we'll all go back together." Lucas glanced around casually, and his gaze landed on his classmates who were happily chatting with their parents. Despite being a weekday, most families had both parents attending the graduation ceremony. Maybe Lucas, too, had wished for his father to be there. When he was younger, despite having such a father, he was always clinging to him, saying, "Daddy," but now, with a father who neither spends time with him nor is hardly ever home, Lucas has become quite cold towards him. Even when they are in the same house, Lucas barely speaks to his father. Seeing how many families had both parents attend events like this, I might have felt a bit envious. "Alright, I'm off then." With only his diploma and phone in hand, Lucas dashed off. Watching his back, I thought about talking to my husband. "Hey, could you come to Lucas's middle school entrance ceremony?" I brought it up to my husband when he came home late that day. He probably forgot that today was the graduation ceremony. He hadn't mentioned a word about our son, not in the morning before leaving the house nor now when he came back smelling faintly of alcohol. "The entrance ceremony is on a weekday, right?" Today, at the graduation, most families attended together. I was pretty much the only mom there alone. I got a lot of "couldn't your husband take the day off" from the other parents. My husband, though indifferent to his family, me, and our son, is all about appearances. He seemed to catch the implication that "so, your husband puts work before his kid," from my words, and I saw a slight frown form between his eyebrows. In reality, the conversation was more along the lines of "is dad at work?" But nobody is into another family's business like that around here. So, I deliberately phrased it that way. I implied, normally, dads take a day off for their kids' graduation, but ours was the exception. Lucas seemed to envy them, so I was hoping you could make it next time. Whether or not Lucas actually felt envious, I can't say for sure. But being the odd one out in a crowd can't be comfortable. "Will you apply for a day off?" "Well, probably." His response was lackluster, but after pressing him a bit more, I decided to go to bed. They say good news comes to those who wait, and there's work tomorrow. Then, the next evening, while at work as usual, I got a message from my husband. I got the day off for the entrance ceremony. I was surprised he acted so quickly, considering our conversation just yesterday. Perhaps my remark about being the only family without a dad present at the graduation had an impact. When I got home, I told Lucas. "Both mom and dad will go to the entrance ceremony." Lucas looked surprised, but slowly seemed to digest the news. It might be the first time his dad has ever attended a school event. So he could be a bit shaken, but he seemed happy, and his expression softened. I also messaged my mother-in-law that my husband would be attending the entrance ceremony. She was originally planning to come with us anyway. I could tell she was happy from her message back. She had apologized for my husband's behavior so many times before. Seeing him act like a father must be a relief. For her, the opportunity for 3 generations to celebrate together must be precious. I felt glad I had communicated properly with my husband. It would be wonderful if we could all greet the entrance ceremony with happy hearts. On the day of Lucas's entrance ceremony, I was walking to a store in my neighborhood. Because, as I was leaving, I snagged my stockings. I hadn't worn such thin stockings recently, so I carelessly caught them with my rough, dry fingers. So, I decided to leave home early, buy new stockings at the store, and then head to the middle school. My husband said he would go directly to the office after the entrance ceremony, planning to bike to the station for a direct route. Therefore, he left the house later than I did, who was walking. "Don't forget to lock up," and with that, I left before him. After securing new stockings and carefully putting them on, I made my way to the middle school again. Arriving at the school, I saw many parents registering and entering the venue. There were more parents than in elementary school due to the increased number of students. It was very lively. The kids had gone to school earlier. They were probably now with their new class, teacher, and classmates. "Chloe?" "Oh, hi." I had just finished checking Lucas's class and registering when my mother-in-law called out to me. It was good that we found each other easily. "Where's Joseph? Hasn't he arrived yet?" "He said he'd come by bike, so I left the house before him." "Oh, is that so? Let's look around then." We checked the bike parking area and the entrance of the gym. But we couldn't find my husband. The deadline for entering was approaching. I took out my phone and called my husband.
Hello?
Where are you? I'm driving.
Why?
By car? To work? But he was supposed to go to work after the entrance ceremony. And he shouldn't have parking at work if he drove.
I got invited to golf by my boss. He noticed yesterday that I took the day off. What?
According to my husband, his boss called him while he was preparing at home. He was invited to play at a golf course not too far from our house, and so he quickly got ready for golf and left. I was so frustrated that I couldn't find the words to respond. I was too angry and astonished, and my energy just drained away, leaving me speechless.
You took a day off for Lucas's entrance ceremony, right?
Yeah, but it's nearby.
Golf or your child's entrance ceremony, which do you think is more important?
I gotta hang up now. The call abruptly ended, and I was left in shock. I thought I knew he was no good, but I didn't realize he was this terrible.
Chloe? What happened to Joseph?
My mother-in-law's voice brought me back to reality. Lucas was looking forward to it. I had unnecessarily raised his hopes, only to betray them. I shouldn't have tried to get my husband to attend from the start. Those thoughts were swirling in my mind. In that state, I told my mother-in-law everything about the conversation. "Can you leave it to me?" After listening to my story, my mother-in-law said just that in a low voice. Looking closely, I noticed her hand holding her bag was slightly trembling.
Are you all right? Sorry, Chloe, you go watch Lucas's proud moment,
she said before turning on her heel and walking away. From her words earlier, it seemed she wouldn't watch the entrance ceremony either. Honestly, I wanted to go back home too. The emotional shock felt like physical fatigue weighing on my shoulders. But Lucas was expecting his parents to be there. If both of us were absent, how heartbroken would he be? So, at least I had to properly witness how much my son had grown. Today was supposed to be a joyful day. I took a deep breath and made my way to the gym where the entrance ceremony was being held. After the ceremony ended without any issues and I had finished everything, I met up with Lucas. I couldn't tell if he had seen me during the ceremony. But once we were in the schoolyard for dismissal, it was obvious that his father wasn't there. However, Lucas didn't mention anything about it. I couldn't bring myself to tell him about his father's actions. It was too cruel. And I didn't want to make excuses that he was at work or anything like that. Without touching on that subject, I was discussing with Lucas where we could eat lunch. My phone in my bag started vibrating. Pulling it out, I saw a call from my mother-in-law.
Hello? Chloe? I'm sorry for suddenly disappearing. Has the entrance ceremony finished? Yes, we were just talking about where to go for lunch. Could you come home after you've eaten? I'm at your house with Joseph.
What? Was my husband back already? But he said he was going to play golf. Normally, if he went out to golf, he wouldn't be back for the entire day.
Shall we go home right away?
No need to rush. It's lunchtime. Go eat something.
What about you? I'll figure something out. Don't worry about me.
Indeed, it was already lunchtime, and Lucas said he was hungry. I didn't feel like enduring hunger just to see my husband's face.
Then, we'll eat and come back right away.
Take your time. Taking my mother-in-law's words to heart, we went to eat Lucas's favorite pizza before heading home. Sure enough, there was a car in the carport. It seemed my husband had come back. I unlocked the door and opened it. Something could be heard from the living room.
I just can't understand. I'd like to crack open your head and see what you're thinking.
Gently opening the living room door with Lucas, we were startled by the loud voice. To my surprise, it was my mother-in-law, whom I've never seen raise her voice like this before. My husband was sitting, his face pale and trembling. In front of him stood my mother-in-law, a stark contrast to her usual calm demeanor, looking furious.
Welcome home.
Noticing me and Lucas frozen near the door, my mother-in-law greeted us with her usual tone and expression. Though I felt relieved, my husband remained bowed and trembling.
Lucas, I'm sorry we couldn't attend your entrance ceremony. I had to go catch Joseph.
My mother-in-law apologized to Lucas. Wait, had to go catch him?
What do you mean? I went to the golf course, grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and brought him back. What?
I couldn't imagine my mother-in-law doing such a thing. But since my husband was here, it must be true.
You managed to bring him back. I told his colleagues at the golf course he was supposed to have taken the day off for his son's entrance ceremony today, but suddenly disappeared to go golfing. Don't you think he's a terrible father? I see. Initially, Joseph was all, this is also part of my job. But then one of the seniors there got angry, saying, it's a milestone for your son. What are you doing?
Perhaps it was the boss who had invited him to golf. He probably didn't know the reason for the day off, and he must have been shocked too. Plus, it was good that his colleagues got to see his true colors. Serves him right.
They told him, go right now. So, I dragged him away just like that. Wow. He must have been quite surprised when I showed up. He let out such a pathetic scream. It's embarrassing for a man his age.
My mother-in-law sighed. The phrase "a mother's strength" came to my mind. I couldn't be more thankful to her. I couldn't have brought him back or had a serious conversation about this matter on my own.
Thank you. How could I leave a scumbag who would rather play golf than see his son's proud moment?
But it was all so shocking. I couldn't believe my usually gentle mother-in-law did such a thing. Seeing how scared my husband was, it must be true that when a person who rarely gets angry does, it's frightening indeed.
Were you playing golf?
Lucas asked his father. His voice made my husband look up, but Lucas's expression was blank.
I didn't have high hopes, but I'm thoroughly disappointed. I don't have a father, and I don't need one.
His voice was cold. With that, Lucas went upstairs, and the sound of his room door slamming echoed. My husband looked shocked. He deserved to be told off, and he had no right to make that face.
I don't need a son like this either.
My mother-in-law added insult to injury.
All you ever do is what you want. Are you even capable of holding down a job as an adult?
I am.
You can't do your job, so you resort to sucking up to your boss to survive, I bet. That's not.
How pitiful.
It's only natural for your child to disown you. You're shallow and insubstantial.
My mother-in-law's sharp words cut through my husband like a knife. Her usually calm demeanor made her attack all the more potent. My husband's head dropped lower and lower.
I can't leave this sorry excuse of a man with my precious grandson and daughter-in-law.
Leave this house immediately.
Mom!
Don't call me mother.
It makes my skin crawl. Hey! You must have some clothes in that golf bag of yours.
Take it and get out. I had no role to play in this scene. True to her word, my mother-in-law kicked my husband out. She dragged him by his clothes, kicked him out the door, closed it, and locked it. Without a key, my husband couldn't re-enter the house.
Oops, I guess I showed you an embarrassing side of me.
My mother-in-law said with a shy laugh as she turned around. Somehow, all the tension left my shoulders, and I couldn't help but laugh too. About 10 days after the tumultuous day of my son's entrance ceremony, my husband and I were sitting opposite each other at the dining table. I had received a message from him the day before saying, "I want to talk." This was the first contact since he had been kicked out of the house.
I was wrong. I'm truly sorry,
he said, and I watched with a cold gaze. After that incident, I had a lot of talks with my mother-in-law and son, and we had already decided what to do next.
Let's start over. From now on, I'll.
There's no from now on. I interrupted him and laid the divorce papers on the table.
What?
We're getting a divorce.
Wait, just wait, from now on I'll. You're not needed in our lives. But you will fulfill your responsibilities.
Next to the divorce papers, I placed several photographs. Upon seeing them, my husband's eyes widened, and he gasped. These photos were evidence of his affair. There were pictures of him walking with another woman, entering a hotel, going into a condo with her, and he entered alone. All the photos clearly showed his face. My mother-in-law had hired a detective agency, and she handed over all their findings to me. I had previously mentioned to her that my husband sometimes didn't come home. Hearing this, she secretly had him investigated. Perhaps this was why she stormed the golf course. Her patience had snapped. Regardless, I decided to make good use of these investigation results.
So, this lady is a night worker, huh? Unfortunately for you, it seems she's found someone better than you. What? No, that's not.
He quickly fell apart at a little provocation. Well, with such concrete evidence, any attempt to hide it would be futile.
After you were thrown out here, you rolled into her place, right? She has another place to live besides this house, you know. What? It seems a generous gentleman has rented a condo for her.
After being kicked out of the house, my husband contacted her, and she let him stay in her place for a while. However, the lifestyle of a woman who works at night and a 9-to-5 worker are two different. It's natural to live like ships passing in the night, but my husband hadn't realized she was hardly ever home. After all, they usually met at her workplace, and he could only go back to the place with her when he managed to book her for the after hours. It's no wonder he hadn't noticed. It turns out this apartment was meant for her work, just being used to entertain special clients like my husband. Unaware of such details, my husband was overjoyed that she had accepted him and secured a temporary residence, but unfortunately, the beautiful night butterfly was far more cunning. And there he was, trying to win me back while living off his affair partner. I can't begin to understand what was going through his mind to act this way.
You must have thought I knew nothing to dare suggest we start over. No, I mean, really, from now on, I'll do it properly. I told you there's no from now on. I'm tired of hearing it.
Chloe. Let's settle the future through lawyers. The divorce papers will be collected by the lawyer, so have them ready, I said, standing up. I'm not interested in his endless excuses. I'm not at my leisure.
My son and I won't live here anymore. Please enjoy your solitude.
I left the house keys on top of the divorce papers and walked away. He didn't say anything more. My son and I had already rented a new place close enough to not change his school district. It's also not far from my mother-in-law's house, so our relationship with her remains unchanged. My son and I are living more freely than ever. I wish we had done this sooner. Afterward, I made sure to demand child support, finalizing the divorce. Because of that, he was scorned by her, and it seems he got banned from the club where she worked. My husband was devastated to learn his infidelity was discovered, was toyed with by his mistress, and then dumped. The divorce discussions with the lawyer dealt him a significant blow. At work, he was rumored to be a terrible parent for choosing golf over his son's entrance ceremony, leading to cold treatment from his colleagues. Whether because of the rumor or his actual performance, he was demoted and sidelined to a more insignificant position. His income plummeted, but due to child support payments, he's maintaining his income through double jobs. He occasionally calls my mother-in-law asking for financial help, but she curtly refuses. My son and I, busy yet cooperating, are living a happy life. My son has joined the soccer club in middle school and is rapidly improving. There's an upcoming tournament, and he's been selected as the member. My mother-in-law and I plan to cheer for him. Our relationship with my mother-in-law remains as strong as ever. Although my son now relies less on her due to his busy club activities, we make time to visit her regularly on days off. To me, my mother-in-law is still a pillar of support. I hope to keep this close relationship with her forever. I'm at my happiest now. I can say that with confidence. My name is Isabella Taylor, I'm 30 years old. I've been married to Eric for 3 years. And now, I've put an end to our 3 years of marriage. I left a box packed with important things as a final gift.
What's this box? I'm gonna toss any forgotten stuff.
No way. That's something important to you. I love talking to people and worked at a local company valuing communication, where I met Eric. Initially, just co-workers, we gradually grew to cherish each other's presence. Let's keep pushing through, together, we'd encourage each other. One day, Eric took me to a restaurant. Then he proposed, saying, "I want to be with you forever." Of course, I said yes. As we prepared for our wedding, Eric told me he wanted me to focus on housework. Though I was keen on continuing my fulfilling career, persuaded by Eric, I resigned amidst my boss and colleagues' regrets. On my last day, my boss said, "You're always welcome back if you decide to return to work," leaving me with mixed feelings but excited for the new life with Eric. Being a homemaker was busier and more fulfilling than expected. I've always loved cooking and even got hooked on creating budget recipes. As a homemaker, managing finance was essential, so cleaning and managing the home filled my days quickly. Yet, I always hoped to return to work someday, so I also studied for certifications to upgrade my skills. One Sunday afternoon, folding laundry, I grew increasingly irritated with Eric's attitude. Even as I ran the washing machine since morning, vacuumed, and cleaned the bathroom, Eric just lounged on the couch, scrolling through his phone, not offering to help at all.
"If you'd help a bit, we could have more time to relax together."
Eric thinks it's natural for me, a full-time homemaker, to handle all household chores. Today, we were supposed to visit my in-laws in the evening. Their place is just a 10-minute drive away, so we're often called over for visits. But truth be told, I find my in-laws difficult to deal with.
"Eric, Isabella, welcome." "Good evening. I didn't want to always be on the receiving end of your hospitality, so I brought some dishes I made."
"Oh, how thoughtful of you." What should have been a cozy family dinner started with, "If Mia had made this, it would have been much nicer." Maybe you should improve your cooking.
Mia's cooking was always delicious.
My in-laws are always like this.
I thought I was pretty confident in my cooking. Everyone else always says it's delicious.
Normally, you'd expect a husband to stand up for his wife when in-laws say such harsh things, but Eric joined in, praising Mia with them. Mia is Eric's ex-girlfriend. They say he dated before me.
Mia's stories again.
Every time we visit my in-laws, the conversation always centers around Eric's ex-girlfriend, with both my in-laws and Eric joining in.
I wish they would stop.
It's always like this, with me feeling left out, and the conversation constantly revolving around Mia.
I really thought Eric would marry Mia.
Well, you know, things happen. Even though we're invited over to my in-laws' place, I end up just listening to this kind of talk.
There's no need for me to be here then.
It was just a suffocating time of silently eating. The only conversation directed at me was, "Isabella, still no kids? You're not getting any younger, and since you're not working, having a child is about all you can do."
Yeah, Mom's right. It's not like you're good for anything else, considering we don't have kids.
Even Eric joins his parents in making it seem like it's my fault we don't have children.
That's why I hated going to your parents' place.
On the way home, I asked Eric, "Don't you think what was said at your parents' place today was a bit much?" He looked surprised. "What do you mean?"
"All the talk about your ex in front of me."
"Oh, that?
The stuff about Mia is all in the past. I'm married to you now, so it shouldn't matter."
Eric's words did nothing to ease my worries or make me feel any better. The fact that we're married doesn't justify glorifying his past relationships with the words of Eric and his parents.
"And what's this about only being good for having kids? That's a horrible thing to say. It sounds like it's all my fault." "Well, we don't have kids yet, so it can't be helped. Even if that's the case, it's a problem for both of us, not just me alone. Just let it slide. You really sweat the small stuff."
I felt our happy married life crumbling away. Hoping to improve my relationship with my in-laws, I continued to visit their home, only to hear, "Mia was so honest and adorable. If only we had a grandchild that looked like her."
"Why did you break up with Mia?"
"It was always about Mia. making me feel invisible.
I would have preferred to marry Mia. Mia was out of your league, really. Isabella is more your speed.
They even went as far as to say things like that, making me wonder, what am I to you? If that's how you feel, you should have married Mia. My doubts about Eric grew, and I found myself trusting him less and less. And I started thinking, maybe we can't go on like this. Around that time, Eric began coming home late and often went out until late at night. One evening, while Eric was showering, his smartphone rang on the living room table.
Who could that be at this hour?
The screen showed, "Had a great time today. When can we meet again?"
What does meet again mean? I thought you had a work dinner tonight.
My heart turned cold, and I left the smartphone on the table without opening the message, but my suspicions only grew. As days passed, my heart grew heavier. Our relationship showed no signs of improving, and the pressure from my in-laws only increased day by day. My in-laws continued to praise Mia unabashedly and openly scorn me.
Even though Isabella is a homemaker, she's not good at housework. Mia would have done a much better job.
My in-laws would say, and Eric would just agree with them every time. He never defended or stood up for his wife. One night, after Eric went to bed early, I sat on the living room couch and started searching for something online.
That indifferent attitude towards his own wife. Eric is suspicious. He might be having an affair.
As I looked up signs of an affair and how to deal with it, something inside me began to change. I wanted to prioritize my own happiness. And the desire to confirm my suspicions grew stronger. I stumbled upon an article titled "Actions of a Wife Suspecting an Affair" and wondered, is this what I should do? The article outlined steps to turn suspicion into certainty. Stay calm, gather evidence, and then make the best choice for oneself. And I decided to take that step. Today, I was meeting my best friend, Samantha, after a long time. Samantha had taken a day off to have a leisurely lunch with me. Samantha works for a company which is a business partner of Eric, and we became best friends when I was working because we got along so well.
How have you been? It's been 3 years since you left your job, right? Yeah, being a homemaker is fulfilling and fun.
You were always so driven at work. It's hard to believe you're content with being a homemaker.
When I decide to do something, whether it's work or household chores, I go all out. I'm a perfectionist.
That's true. Your home is always spotless whenever I visit, and I admire that. Plus, you've gotten into cooking recently, right? The dishes you post on social media look professional.
Well, you know me. I like to excel at everything.
Eric's lucky to have married you.
That's what you'd think, but it doesn't seem that way.
I shared with Samantha about Mia, the derogatory comments from my in-laws and Eric.
That's terrible of Eric and his parents. What do they think of you? It's like I'm just a bad maid to them. There was even a message from another woman on Eric's phone late at night.
Probably.
No way, is he cheating? Maybe you should confront him. But I don't have solid proof yet, and I'm thinking maybe I should let him slip up. I see. I'll help however I can, just let me know.
Thank you, Samantha. I felt grateful to have a friend who understood me. After lunch with Samantha, on my way home, I accidentally spotted Eric.
Is that Eric? Who's the woman next to him? It's still work hours. Maybe a colleague? But they seem pretty close. Wait, is that Eric? The woman next to him. Mia? Is that Mia? How do you know her? Mia's a colleague of mine. She's known for jumping from guy to guy. That Mia is Eric's ex we were just talking about. Really? The one who's supposedly good at cooking? No way. That woman can't cook to save her life. She's just good at pretending.
Samantha, do you have time? I need a favor.
Of course. Let's follow them.
And so, Samantha and I decided to tail Eric and Mia. In broad daylight, they went into a hotel.
Just as I thought.
My suspicions were confirmed.
Isabella, are you okay? Yeah, I was prepared for this, so I'm fine.
We decided to wait for them to come out.
Do you mind if I make a quick call? Sure, go ahead. Hello. I'm Eric Taylor's wife. I need to urgently reach my husband due to a family matter, but I can't seem to get through.
I see, I'll try contacting him from here.
If you can't reach him, could you please inform his supervisor about this?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Then, we took photos of them entering and leaving the hotel.
Samantha, thank you. No problem. Just say the word and I'll help out.
Can I ask you for one more favor?
Of course.
As if nothing had happened, I went home and started preparing dinner, but my revenge had quietly begun. I started to observe Eric's movements more carefully. The days he came home late, his reasons for going out, and how he handled his smartphone. While Eric was sleeping, I gently picked up his smartphone and unlocked it with my heart racing. The messages, photos, and his schedule. I found all confirmed my suspicions were correct. I felt a strong need to take action to escape this situation. The next day, I went to a law firm for consultation. Photos proving Eric was still involved with his ex-girlfriend Mia in an affair. Audio evidence of my in-laws demeaning me by bringing up the ex-girlfriend.
I've been verbally abused by my husband and in-laws for a long time. And my husband is having an affair. I want to file for damages against my husband and in-laws. The evidence will serve as solid proof. Let's prepare a demand letter for damages based on this. Claiming damages for the verbal abuse from your in-laws is possible with this much evidence.
My preparations were steadily advancing. Then one day, Eric suddenly called me into the living room with a heavy atmosphere.
Isabella, I have something to tell you.
What? Why so formal?
My mistress Mia is pregnant. That's why I want a divorce.
At that moment, my heart turned ice cold, yet it felt like I was being confronted with a reality I had been prepared for.
What?
Eric continued talking without meeting my eyes.
Both your dad and mom know. They're thrilled about having a grandchild.
Those words filled me with deep despair, but at the same time, I was convinced of the importance of the evidence I had collected. Over the past few months, Eric's unnaturally late returns home had increased. Samantha and I tailed him, found messages and photos on his smartphone, and captured photos of them entering a hotel. All these proved my suspicions were correct. That night, I resolved to take revenge on Eric, Mia, and my in-laws. The next morning, Eric said, "I want you to leave today. I want to live here with Mia as soon as possible," before he went to work.
Selfish man. He has no idea what's coming. I plan to leave today.
I started packing my things in the morning. I was going to stay at my best friend Samantha's place for a while.
But first, there's something I need to do.
I went to the law firm in the morning.
My husband didn't just have an affair, he got her pregnant. That's terrible. The demand letter is ready. They have the obligation to pay a fair amount. Don't worry, I'll assist you.
Thank you. I felt supported having a competent lawyer by my side. After consulting the lawyer, I went back home to continue my preparations to leave. Alone in the living room, I quietly started packing the evidence into a box to show them. Then, I placed the box in a conspicuous spot in the room. Before leaving the house, I wrote a letter to my in-laws. I have always tried to build a good relationship, but I have always been compared to Mia and felt like I wasn't accepted as part of the family. Your reaction to it has deeply hurt me, making me feel lonely and betrayed. I've collected evidence and left it in Eric's room. I want you to know the truth and understand the betrayal I felt. There you go. With that, I bid farewell to my married life. I vowed to see the impact my actions would have on Eric, Mia, and my in-laws. Then, I mailed the letter and the demand letter for compensation to my in-laws' house. Afterwards, I dropped another envelope in the mailbox and headed to Eric's company.
I need to get back to work myself.
I offered to return to my previous job. My former boss welcomed me back with open arms.
Having Isabella, now a popular cooking influencer on social media, return as the face of our kitchenware company will surely double our popularity.
Yes, that's right. My hobby of posting cooking content on social media has made me quite popular, and now I'm known as a famous cook.
Then, I'll be starting next week,
I said, leaving the company. Then, Eric and Mia came back from work.
What's this box?
I'll throw away any forgotten stuff. Thinking it wasn't his, Eric contacted me.
No way. That's something important for you.
Important for me?
What is it?
Eric said, looking inside the box.
What is this? Why are these here?
The box was filled with photos of the affair, them entering the hotel, leaving the hotel, going to the doctor together, shopping for baby supplies with my in-laws, and many more undeniable proofs of the affair and abuse. At the very bottom of the box was a demand letter for compensation and divorce papers, along with a sticky note that read, "Please fill out the divorce papers and arrange for the payment of compensation." Also included was an envelope with instructions. Please open this envelope with Mia.
What's this envelope about? What does it mean, open with me?
The two of them opened the envelope. This was actually something I had asked Samantha to do. Since Mia was known to switch partners frequently, I had her investigate Mia's other relationships. I suspected that the baby might not be Eric's, so I also had Samantha look into who the father could be. Since Samantha was Mia's colleague, she could easily gather information on Mia's other relationships and quickly obtained photos of Mia with other men. It turned out Mia was dating two other men besides Eric. One was a guy named Lucas, and another was David, who, like Eric, was already married. On the days Eric wasn't around, either David or Lucas would visit Mia's place. Apparently, Lucas was the main man, and the baby was likely his. However, Lucas didn't want the child, so the plan was to have Eric divorce and marry Mia to raise the child together, and David, another affair partner, was expected to pay child support. What a woman! Hearing about such a homewrecker is astonishing. Upon seeing the evidence photos, Eric exclaimed, "Mia, what's the meaning of this?"
Well, these people are just friends. Friends walk arm in arm into a hotel? It's not like that.
What do you mean not like that?
You had other men? There's no one else. It's not like that.
Naturally, Eric and Mia faced a huge confrontation afterward. And I had one more thing to do. On the day I confirmed Eric and Mia entering a hotel, I had called his company claiming an urgent need to contact Eric. Despite multiple attempts, his colleagues couldn't reach him on his phone. Of course, he was busy enjoying his time off. Unable to reach Eric, his colleague naturally reported it to their supervisor. Though Eric managed to smooth things over somewhat, his supervisor and colleagues harbored doubts. Then, an anonymous letter arrived at the HR department. It was the letter I had mailed earlier. The letter reported an employee engaging in an affair during work hours, accompanied by photos of them entering and exiting a hotel, timestamped with a smartphone clock. The photos made it immediately clear that the employee was Eric, and the woman was Mia from a partner company. The photos' date and time matched the day I called Eric's company and the day his colleagues couldn't reach him, leading inevitably to Eric being summoned by his supervisor.
What were you doing during work hours? This is a misunderstanding.
What misunderstanding?
This evidence is clear to anyone who sees it. Who took these photos? Could it be Isabella?
It doesn't matter who. We will announce your disciplinary action later. Yes. Similarly, Mia's company was contacted by Eric's company, and the affair during work hours was revealed.
Why such photos?
Despite her attempts at excuses, the irrefutable evidence meant she couldn't escape responsibility. At Eric's parents' house, a letter from Isabella? They opened the letter. It contained evidence photos of Eric and Mia's affair, as well as photos showing Mia was involved with other men. His parents had indeed been fond of Mia, had wanted her back, and were aware that they had spoken harshly to me.
This has turned into a serious issue. We never thought she would go this far.
His parents also received a notification of a claim for damages for their verbal abuse towards me. When they heard that Mia was pregnant with Eric's child, they were overjoyed about the grandchild. The envelope also included various photos of Mia with other men. Is the child really Eric's? With these photos, the prospect of welcoming a grandchild now seemed dubious.
We're living on our pension. We don't have money to pay for damages. But we can't escape this claim for compensation.
It was then that they realized the magnitude of their actions. Later, I received a call from Eric.
Isabella, what have you done?
His voice was filled with panic.
Everything is the result of yours and Mia's actions, isn't it? I'm the wife you cheated on. Well, soon-to-be ex-wife. You're not working. You won't be able to survive after the divorce, right?
Even now, Eric was trying to belittle me.
You don't have to worry about me. I have job prospects. I've been welcomed back to the company. The same company as you. What do you mean? There's no way you can work now. After not working for 3 years, you can't just go back to your old job. That's ridiculous. Well, my boss and colleagues are all welcoming me back. What can someone like you do?
You didn't know, did you?
I have 100,000 followers on SNS and am known as a cooking influencer. What's that? You, a cooking influencer? Yes, I plan to contribute a lot to the company. You should worry about yourself rather than others. What are you talking about? We're going to be in the same workplace again.
We'll see. Later, as expected, I heard that both Eric and Mia were fired from their jobs.
Damn it! How did it come to this?
No matter what he said now, it was too late to change anything. Through this incident with Mia, David, another man she was involved with, also had his affair discovered by his wife. Mia insisted the child was Eric's, but Eric, unable to trust her, conducted a paternity test after the child was born. The result confirmed that the child was not his. David also had a paternity test, which confirmed the child was not his either. So it turned out the child was indeed Lucas's. Mia ended up being abandoned by both Eric and David and went to Lucas, claiming the child was his. But soon after, Lucas disappeared.
Lucas! Why? Where did you go?
Mia was left to deal with the alimony for 2 wives on top of raising the child. Having confirmed the alimony payments, Eric and Mia found themselves in debt to manage the huge amount, far from their once comfortable lifestyle. After losing her job, Mia reluctantly took up night work to repay her debts. The young child, inevitably, wasn't properly taken care of by Mia and ended up being raised by Mia's parents. Eric, too, found himself juggling multiple part-time jobs, cutting back on sleep to make ends meet. His parents deeply regretted their actions, realizing they had spoiled their son and his wife's life by favoring Mia and being cold to me. Moreover, their relationship breakdown resulted in them losing the chance to see their grandchild, and the family bond was lost. Gradually, Eric started blaming everything on his parents. He severed ties with them and shockingly proposed to me for reconciliation.
Isabella, can't we start over? I've cut ties with my parents, so you don't have to worry. I'll protect you from now on. So, alimony, can we forget about it?
Hearing Eric speak with such delusion, I felt dizzy.
What is he talking about?
Eric, still blaming his parents for everything and absolving himself of any guilt. Hopeless.
Why would I ever reconcile with you? Take responsibility for your actions and pay the alimony. And don't contact me ever again.
Eric, Mia, and his parents faced the hard truth that they couldn't turn back time to the happy days of their family. And my new days began with the revival of my dream career and life. Returning to work after days as a homemaker, I rediscovered the satisfaction of my job. My social media account kept gaining new followers, with my recipes and culinary photos earning widespread praise. As the face of a kitchenware brand, every time I posted a review on social media, the products sold out instantly.
Connecting with so many people through cooking, work is truly enjoyable.
While trying new recipes in the kitchen, I thought about this. At work, I succeeded in various projects through collaboration with colleagues, regaining my former confidence and vitality. My days are filled with professional work by day and passion for my social media activities by night. In these fulfilling days, I truly felt that this is where I belong, finding both work and cooking enjoyable. On weekends, I enjoyed single life with my best friend Samantha. We tried new restaurants and planned trips together. Samantha, thank you. It's because of you that I can walk towards such a positive future. Expressing my gratitude, Samantha replied with a smile, I'm also happy because you're with me, Isabella. Let's continue to enjoy many fun things together. Overcoming past hardships and carving out a new life with my own strength brought me deep satisfaction. And I realized that this moment is the most brilliant in my life. My name is Mirabelle Kirk, I'm 46 years old. Back when I was married, I went by the name Mirabelle Ivan, but now I'm divorced. I was Mirabelle Ivan 18 years ago, when I was 28. My then husband, Harry Ivan, was 30, and our daughter, Lisa Ivan, was just 5 years old. But during my marriage, I couldn't proudly say I was happy. Lisa was diagnosed with cancer, which caused a rift in our marriage. Why does my daughter have to have cancer? It's a disgrace that such a weak person comes from my family. It's your fault for not watching her diet more closely, leading to this. And to think she's gotten a terminal diagnosis, how poorly must you have raised her? There's no worse mother than you anywhere in the world. No matter how much I earn, it all goes to medical bills. While I don't even have time to enjoy myself, you're probably napping at home. My mom was right. We got a defective daughter-in-law and grandchild, and now we're isolated by the neighbors. It's all your fault. Don't think crying will help, I'm not falling for those cheap tricks. Harry would rant and leave the house. Whether he was going to work or to his mistress's place. I knew. Once Lisa was diagnosed with cancer, Harry quickly found another woman. I work for Lisa too. What do you mean by weak person? Cancer can happen to anyone, you fool. Not only do you lack medical knowledge, but you also lack common sense. Just because you're a bit successful, you always have to make those snide remarks. It's so annoying, what a jerk. Murmuring this, I got ready and headed to the office. That night, I was exhausted from work, but Harry didn't even prepare dinner. He was lounging on the sofa, laughing at the TV. Hey, where have you been? Where's my dinner? Why didn't you prepare it? You've made me tired. Hurry up, you worthless wife. When I silently started to prepare dinner, Harry unusually came over to me. We're getting a divorce. Actually, my beloved Mia is pregnant with my child, a healthy boy, at that. So, this is the end for us. Be thankful for the times we had, and sign this divorce paper. I wasn't even sad, I felt like the inevitable had finally arrived. After I calmly signed the divorce papers, Harry quickly packed his things and left the house. And so, 18 years ago, I was kicked out of the Ivan family and returned to my parents' house, the Kirks. And now, by chance, I ran into Harry again at a large shopping center. It had been 18 years, so when I saw Harry with a baby, I couldn't believe it. But Harry remembered me too and approached me with a smirk. Hey, is the kid still alive? Look, this is my grandchild. I'm blessed with children and money, happy as can be. I also have a company celebrating its 18th year on the stock market, worth $300 million, and a family with my daughter to introduce. What? Harry was stunned but then smirked immediately. Hey, just because your daughter died, you're lashing out in frustration? It's okay, you know. Your dad's company went bankrupt a long time ago, right? You don't have to put on airs. Or is it because you're too jealous of someone else's happiness, so you say these things out of desperation? I didn't think you were such a low woman. It's fine, you know? I could lend you some money if you need. Did you just slip up because I have this grandchild with me? If you can say sorry now, I might still forgive you. Look at this large shopping center called Alt. If you're affiliated with such a grand facility, I'd kneel down and apologize for the divorce. But your company couldn't possibly compete with it, the biggest facility in the state, right? Harry started blabbering with a smirk, without knowing anything about the situation. Alt is the nickname for this large shopping center we're in. As the largest commercial facility in the state, it's a popular spot talked about all over the US. And you? Just shopping with that grandchild of yours? I said it provocatively on purpose. Then, Harry's face darkened. He's still a man weak to cheap provocations, just like before. Yeah, so what? What about that kid, Lisa, from back then? Well, whether she's alive or not, it's none of my business anyway. In the end, you're just that, unlovable, uncharming, and nasty woman. My wife Mia, even now, is a cute and charming woman. The complete opposite of you. And yet, you're so stuck up, truly infuriating, a miserable woman who can't genuinely accept other people's happiness. Look, you can say whatever you want about me, but that baby, what, about 6 months old now? To be able to spew such vitriol when you have a child that age. You never know what kids are picking up on. Maybe it's time you stop demeaning people. It's only going to negatively affect the child, not that you would understand. Besides, I think belittling others is like a hobby for you. Be thankful I didn't demand alimony, given you had a mistress at the time of our divorce. I gave him a defiant smile. It seemed to ignite Harry's anger. What did you say? It's fine, you can claim whatever now. I have this adorable grandchild with me. Well, I kinda get your struggle. Your father's company went bankrupt after your daughter passed away, right? What are you working as now? In a bar? Have you fallen that low? Honestly, I'd be genuinely curious to see a place that would hire an old lady like you. Brainless, charmless, strangely assertive, finding a company that would hire you would be a challenge in itself. Or is it that? Are you living off the government? Well, it's easier for a single person, right? Since you don't have the ability to earn much, anyway. Shall we stop there? I cut off Harry's words and handed him a business card. Sorry for the late introduction, I'm Mirabelle Kirk, the owner of this alt facility. Huh? No way, you're bluffing. 18 years ago, you abandoned me and our sick daughter Lisa in the worst way possible. Well, I was fed up with you anyway, so it was for the best. As you know, my father's company was small and struggling to survive back then. But I supported my father desperately, and I took care of him. My father worked from dawn till dusk, sparing no time for sleep. You didn't know this, but considering Lisa, my father canceled his life insurance to cover her medical expenses. Sure, my father has passed away, but until the very end, he worried about his granddaughter. You wouldn't understand the hardships of others. Now, by various connections, I own this large commercial facility, Alt. Oh, and your daughter Lisa, whom you consider gone, has fully recovered and is married into a major real estate family herein. Unlike you, my daughter has found a truly good match. Huh? A major real estate family? Lisa married into such a prominent family? Are you dreaming? Are you okay in the head? People don't believe small lies, but do believe the big ones, some cartoonist said, but this is exactly it. It's pitiful, really. I was a fool to think of offering you help. I really ended up with a ridiculous wife. This business card, handed over so proudly, lacks any credibility. Even if I tear it up here, it wouldn't be worth picking up. Thinking back, it's a pitiful fantasy after not seeing you for so long. Are you living such a terrible life? Should I lend you some money? With interest 5 times over, I'll scatter some change here, so pick it up and count every piece. What are you talking about? Yes, my daughter's cancer was indeed in the intermediate stage. But you know, we changed doctors and somehow managed to cure her completely. Do you understand that struggle? Well, right after we split, my father's company experienced significant growth. Ever heard of Dolger? You must have, right? There's no way you, with your love for brand names, wouldn't jump on something new. Dolger. You mean that globally renowned brand? Are you for real? Dolger did indeed appear out of nowhere 18 years ago, but you're related to Dolger and Alt? Do you really think I'd believe such a story, you scammer? Dolger is a brand my father and I worked hard on, risking our company's future. I'm the CEO there now. My father has retired. It started as a small company, with only one physical store in a local area, but thanks to someone's help, we managed it barely. You know this story, don't you? Yeah, I know. The Dolger brand got its big break when a world-famous soprano singer noticed it and posted it as her favorite on social media, right? That kicked off its massive success. Now it's super popular among students. That's right. I showed a triumphant smile intentionally. Thanks to that world-famous soprano singer, our company grew enormously. Whatever we sell goes out of stock immediately. No matter how much we produce, it's never enough. Waiting half a year for product reservations has become the norm. Not just the Dolger brand, but other brands we've acquired have become famous because we can't stop buying them up. That caught the ear of a major real estate family here in Times Square, and I was invited to own this large commercial facility, Alt. But I guess that's irrelevant to a winner like you, huh? After all, you abandoned your wife and daughter to run off with your mistress. And here at Alt. It's a lie. Alt is such a huge commercial facility, there's nothing you can't find there. It has daily necessities, food, furniture, electronics, a movie theater, indoor playgrounds, a library, a food court, and spots perfect for SNS. There's no way someone like you could manage that. Or maybe, this business card is also a lie. Such a Cinderella story only exists in fairy tales. Have you finally lost your mind? I even feel sorry for you, truly. It's a popular tourist spot, and students from all over flock here, and you claim to be its owner. Lisa is actually gone, isn't she? This is why delusional women. What are you talking about? Lisa is very much alive. After achieving great success with my company, Lisa has always looked up to me. She's such a wonderful daughter, always thankful to me, her mother. She was inspired by me and worked incredibly hard, studying non-stop. And guess what? She graduated at the top of her class from Stanford University. She's my pride and joy. Now, she's working for my company and even received a marriage proposal from the main family of a major real estate dynasty here. But you probably wouldn't know how hard to get into Stanford, do you? Given that it took forever to graduate from a third-rate college, right? Oh, and just so you know, Lisa is pregnant now. It's a boy, fitting for an heir, though these days it doesn't really matter if it's a boy or a girl. But that's something you'd care about, isn't it?
You bastard!
Harry shouted loudly, silencing the room instantly.
It's a lie. It has to be. Hey, are there no security guards here? There's a con woman over here. Someone, catch her.
Suddenly, Harry began shouting as if he had lost his mind. The grandchild Harry was holding started crying. The stares from the surrounding customers were harsh, but that was the least of my concerns at the moment. And then, 3 security guards appeared. Miss Kirk. What seems to be the problem? Seeing one of the guards addressing me, Harry's face turned pale.
Ms. Kirk, you say? Security. This woman is a fraudster. She's claiming to be the owner here. If you're going to listen to anyone, it should be me.
I'm sorry, could you please take this man to the back reception room? It seems he gets too excited and causes a commotion here. Come on, take him away, and I'll come too. Understood. Come on, let's go.
Wait.
Harry was taken away by security. This commotion is bound to reach my daughter's in-laws eventually. I have no intention of hiding it, so I called my daughter's father-in-law. He's a strict man who hates lies. What will become of Harry, I wonder? After hearing the situation, my daughter's father-in-law said he'd come to the reception room right away. Mirabelle, just wait, did you say Harry Ivan? Really? What? Yes, that's him. Do you know him? I'll be there right away, thanks for letting me know. At this point, even if he were let outside, he'd cause a major disturbance. I'm not about to let anyone tarnish Alt's name. That's why I deliberately decided to have him taken to the reception room. 3 security guards escorted Harry to the back reception room of Alt. For some reason, Harry was reluctant to go to the reception room.
Wait! I won't make a scene anymore. I have my grandson with me. Please, just let me go home. I promise I won't cause any more trouble. Please!
Harry's grandson began to cry loudly as Harry resisted. Once we managed to get Harry seated on the sofa in the reception room, his face had turned completely pale.
Mirabelle! Come on, let me go home. I haven't done anything wrong, and, listen. I'll start paying alimony right now, so please, just let me go.
For some reason, Harry was averse to being in the reception room. Wondering why he was so reluctant, my daughter entered the reception room first. Oh, Lisa. You've grown so much, I'm your dad. Come on, Lisa, tell Mirabelle, tell her to let me dash. Who are you? I was told my father passed away. Lisa looked at Harry, pretending to be her father, with a cold gaze. Unable to withstand her stare, Harry finally quieted down. Come on, Lisa, help your dad out. My real father is no longer here, you say? Oh, so you are my father? The one who abandoned me and Mom when I got cancer to be with his mistress? Well, if you're asking for help, I can help you, the coldest way, straight to jail.
What are you saying? I'm your father. Quiet down!
Harry continued to shout, but there was no escape from the reception room. Especially with 3 security guards present. Lisa kept pressing. What about your mistress? Where is she now? Don't tell me she ran off on you? And this child you claim is your grandson, is he even related by blood? Lisa, what do you mean? I did some digging on this trash man before. Turns out, his mistress Mia had a son, but the father wasn't you. You unknowingly registered the birth and acknowledged the child, only to be abandoned by the mistress with the kid. It's karma for your bad deeds. It seems I have a half-brother, but I wonder if his wife truly gave birth to my brother's child?
What? Lisa! Keep quiet. You're causing a disturbance, so we'll take care of the child for now.
One of the security guards picked up the baby Harry was holding. Noting he wasn't even using a baby carrier. I couldn't help but think, what if he had dropped the baby?
Hey! My grandson! Once you calm down, we'll return him. Now, please, calm down.
Mom, why did you even bother bringing this loser into the reception room? He's not worth it, and you're the owner of Alt, aren't you supposed to be busy? It's okay, we need to settle things with this man. Lisa, is your father-in-law coming? Did you get in touch? Will he be here soon? He said he's on his way. Should be here any minute. Oh, here he is. Hello, Mirabelle. What's going on? Oh, hi, my ex-husband has been causing a scene in the store, and I couldn't just hide it, so I called you. Are you Harry Ivan by any chance? The atmosphere changed with just one sentence from Lisa's father-in-law. Harry's face turned completely white, as if it were the end of the world for him. I asked Lisa's father-in-law. Do you know this man, sir? Yes, Mirabelle, you called me at just the right time. Actually, this man committed fraud on my property, and I've been looking for him for a long time. Right? Harry Ivan? You haven't forgotten my face, have you? And causing trouble here at Alt as well? How much do you plan to mock people?
No, I was planning to pay back the money, and I was working towards that. It's true.
Sir, what do you mean? How do you know about this man? Then, the patriarch of the major real estate family in Times Square sat opposite Harry. Mirabelle, are you aware of the Gourmet Hall fraud case? Lisa, maybe you've heard the name? It was a huge fraud case that happened the year before last. Harry Ivan here conned money from vendors and participants, promising a Gourmet Hall festival, then disappeared. And now he dares to step on Alt's land. Quite bold, aren't you? Right? Harry Ivan? This con artist.
No. I had the intention to pay back. I was preparing for it. But then this woman, Mirabelle, started interfering. Do you have any idea how much damage the Gourmet Hall fraud case caused us? Do you understand, you rotten fool?
The father-in-law's rebuke was filled with immense power and anger. Even I was taken aback by it. But inside, I was giving him a standing ovation. Well said, I thought. Then, as if to add insult to injury, Lisa appealed to her father-in-law.
Father, this man abandoned me and my mom for his mistress, an awful man. All the hardships my mom went through were because of him. And yet, this man hasn't uttered a single word of apology.
Lisa, that's... So, you're that much of a scoundrel, Harry? Not only did you cause trouble for us, but you also did such a terrible thing to your own daughter. You're an utterly wicked man, not fit to be called a parent, Harry Ivan? If my ears heard correctly, you promised success if given permission to use the land. It seems all that was a lie, wasn't it? You were so desperate, bowing your head, but was that a lie too? Well, if you get arrested here, it will surely bring some peace to the vendors. Arrest. Wait, please, my grandson is still just a baby.
Some of the stores suffered so much damage from your scam that they had to close down, crying shop owners included. And then, there were those who had to downsize their shops because of the losses they incurred. Despite all the trouble you've caused everyone, you went off to be with your mistress, abandoning your wife and child. You're the picture of a criminal.
Criminal. I have been working hard for money. If I get arrested now, I won't be able to pay back the money. Then my sincerity and apology will dash. An apology from a piece of trash like you is worthless. Disappear, you fraudster. Security, please call the police. If we're quick, this might even make the evening news.
Wait, please! Mirabelle! I apologize for everything, just not the arrest, not the police. We used to be married, right? If I get caught, it'll tarnish your reputation too. So, please, anything but the police.
Harry clinging to me was devoid of any dignity. Just a rotten man. So I smiled and said to the hesitant security guard, "Call the police." "It's fine, I've done nothing wrong."
Mirabelle! Do something! This deadbeat dad, give it a rest. Do you have any idea how much mom has struggled? And grandpa too, he had it hard until the day he died. And now you're trying to run away. What a disgrace!
You're the reason some stores went bankrupt, and now I can finally end my search. That's right. After that, Harry tried to interfere with the security guard's call for help, forcing the guard to step into the hallway. Harry began to cry loudly. Lisa and her father-in-law scolded Harry relentlessly until the police arrived. Harry could only cry without offering a single apology. It only fueled Lisa and her father-in-law's anger.
Stop crying! Are you even a man? Pathetic. Can't even say sorry. Lisa's right. You fraudster, will corner you until the end. Be prepared.
Later, the police officers and the detective in charge of the Gourmet Hall fraud case arrived, taking Harry and the baby away.
Mirabelle! It's true, forgive me. I don't want to go to jail yet. I have a little grandson. Please forgive me. Quiet down. You're being arrested on suspicion of fraud.
Harry resisted the police considerably, but in the end, he left the reception room with his shoulders slumped. I thanked my father-in-law. Thank you for telling me about the Gourmet Hall fraud case. Somehow, I feel refreshed too. No, the prosperity of Alt is thanks to your efforts, Mirabelle. And Lisa, such a hardworking mother and daughter. My son is indeed lucky to have her as his wife. Leave the Gourmet Hall fraud case to me. I'll make sure to squeeze every penny of compensation out of that lowest of men. The father-in-law laughed heartily and left the reception room. I told Lisa to sit down. What? Why? You're not even in your stable period yet, are you? It's good to stand up for me, but it's not good for the baby in your belly. No, Mom, getting back at such a man for you is a once-in-a-lifetime joy. Besides, I don't want you to suffer anymore. The baby in my belly will understand. Lisa said, gently stroking her not yet prominently swollen belly. Afterwards, Lisa and I turned on the TV in the reception room. Then, breaking news came on. The screen switched from a drama rerun to a male announcer's news broadcast. We have just received a breaking news. Harry Ivan, a suspect in the Gourmet Hall fraud case who has been on the run, was arrested. Many people forced to close their businesses or file for bankruptcy were involved in this case, and the police believe this arrest will help unveil the full extent of the incident. Like father-in-law said, it really made the evening news.
Yeah, I should have told him off more. He made Mom suffer.
The TV screen showed the front of the police station. Look. The car carrying Harry Ivan is entering the police station now. This massive fraud case occurred 2 years ago, and the police will reveal more details in a press conference. What a foolish man, really. But, after the trial, he'll be off to jail for a while. What do you mean, Lisa? Well, the perpetrator of this case, that man, was already on probation for another case. Probably, he'll receive a prison sentence for the Gourmet Hall fraud case. Well, it's none of our concern anymore. Mom, let's get back to work. I'll head home and lie down.
Is your stomach tight? Are you okay? I'm fine. This much is normal and even approved by my OBGYN.
Pregnancy shouldn't be taken lightly. If anything happens, call me or your husband.
Okay, Mom.
Afterward, Harry was convicted. As Lisa mentioned, he was already on probation, and he couldn't escape prison time. The TV was abuzz with the massive fraud case from 2 years ago, featuring interviews with victims driven to close their shops by Harry's scam. The victims uniformly expressed relief at the perpetrator's arrest, with tears in their eyes. Some had indeed filed for bankruptcy. No newspaper or magazine reporters came to me. Surely, my daughter's father-in-law had worked his magic behind the scenes. Then came my granddaughter's birth, making me a grandmother. The baby boy, born healthy. Both mother and child were healthy upon discharge from the hospital, and the father-in-law was utterly smitten. My son-in-law raised his hands in joy, exclaiming, "That's my boy." While continuing to work hard, I supported my daughter through her parenting struggles and occasionally took care of my grandson as a grandmother. I was at the peak of happiness. Then, an unknown number called me. Hello? Who is this?
What have you done?
Yes. I listened closely to my cell phone.
My ex-husband was found guilty because of you. The media comes to my place every day.
With that sentence, I realized who it was. Harry's divorced mistress, Mia.
What are you going to do about this? I can't even walk outside now.
Oh, and who was it that pushed another man's child onto Harry? What do you call that, I wonder?
How did you know that? That's what you call a trashy woman. Don't you ever call here again. Got it? If you do, I'll make sure it's not just call blocking you'll have to worry about.
Who do you think you are? I'm the victim here. Because of you. Oh, really? Should I start spreading the word that you were the woman who snatched Harry from me? I wouldn't be bothered at all. But then, maybe you wouldn't be able to live in Japan for a while, right? People love a good spectacle. You'd be surrounded by curious reporters. That's karma for you.
What? Using big words. You should come and apologize to me. I'm really struggling because of you. I got a letter from Harry blaming you for everything. Anyway, you need to come and apologize to me. What are you going to do about this?
Well, I don't see why I should apologize to you. After all, who was it that committed marriage snatching? Wasn't it you? It's fine. I can call the magazine reporters and tell them everything about now and what happened 18 years ago. It would probably only bother you, though, wouldn't it? Being sarcastic was incredibly satisfying. After all, it was my chance for revenge, 18 years in the making. The call ended there. Thus, I put an end to the matters of 18 years ago and went back to my work.